Let's take apart the cylinder on a Colt Revolver. I'm going to take apart the cylinder on this 1961 Colt Detective Special. It's virtually the same cylinders on the Police Positive and Police Positive Special. Alright, so I'll retain the crane lock in this piece of neoprene. The cylinder should pop out now. Just rotate it ever so slightly to line up a flute with the frame, and that'll make it easier to come out. So these cylinders on these ratchets and ejectors, you've got to look at the alignment on it before you pull them off. There's an alignment mark there. There's a couple of holes that line up with pins as well. So I'm going to measure the depth of the ejector rod just to make sure I get it back right in place. It's usually not very hard to figure out where it goes. All I have to do is put a piece of leather or rag on it and just unscrew it. With the ejector and ratchet removed, the ejector rod sticks out from the face of the cylinder, and it usually just pushes out. I had to give this one just a little bit of a soft tap, very soft tap with the plastic hammer to help it out. I don't think this cylinder has been taken apart since it was made, so it's a little bit gummy. Came apart though. So that's the crane and the ejector rod that's left. To get them apart, remove this knurled ejector rod head. It's very easy to mess that thing up, so I'm going to wrap it. In this case, with a piece of neoprene, I could use leather or electrical tape or something to protect it. And then same with the end of the ejector rod. It's got some flutes cut in it, so I'm very careful to protect it. And it's got a normal finish, come off easily. With the ejector rod head removed, I can turn my attention to the other end of the crane. Inside the barrel of the crane, there's a little castle nut that they call the crane bushing. It takes a special tool, which I just got. Shout out to my buddy Frank for picking this up for me. And that will reach inside and get hold of that castle nut and unscrew it out. Spring loaded, so I'm very careful to get a grip on it so when the spring hits it, I don't fling it across the room. With the crane bushing removed, I can pull out the ejector rod and the ejector spring. The ejector spring is in a groove on the ejector rod right below this collar. If I just pry on it a little bit, I can slide off the spring. And now all those parts can go in the ultrasonic cleaner, and we can get it lubricated and reassemble it. So let's go over some nomenclature. We've got the ejector and the ratchet, the crane bushing, the cylinder, the ejector rod and the spring, the crane, and that ejector rod head. Reassembly is pretty much just the reverse of disassembly. So we take the ejector rod and spring, stick it in the crane, and attach that ejector rod head. Then we can get a hold of that crane bushing and hold that spring back and slide it on with, again, with our special tool. And you can see a link where I got that tool in the notes. Just very carefully thread it on some very fine threads. The cylinder just slides on, and then I can take the ejector and ratchet and thread it on. This is probably the trickiest part. It's a very fine thread, so I get it on carefully. But as I screw it on, I have to do it in stages and very carefully. Just move it a little bit at a time until I get it perfectly lined up, get those lining marks made right where they're supposed to be, and everything fits and moves smoothly. During the factory install, the ratchet was staked. Here are the original marks. And if it fit loosely, I'd have to stake it again. And with that crane lock reinstalled, just a quick check to make sure everything's moving smoothly and freely. It looks like I'm done.
Well, I hope you found that educational. I'm Jim Humphrey from Imminent Threat Defense Firearms Training. Enjoy your firearms. Stay safe out there. Thanks. Are you still there? Well, watch another one of my videos.